It's been exactly 589 days to the day since Brad Garlinghouse and Ripple last met with President Trump. Today, the markets are ripping after President Trump met and had a public conference with key individuals within the cryptocurrency realm, including Brad Garlinghouse, the Winklevoss twins from Ripple, and a bunch more. And the markets are responding very positively right now. We also had the SEC release new regulations yesterday in the midst of Clarity Act, potentially not going through as early as we want. The SEC's release regulations, which we're going to get into. We're also going to talk about the Clarity Act and where that's at, what came out of this meeting today, because this was an important meeting, and X Money, which is X's 20 years in the making project for creating a financial service that rival that of the world's largest banks and what that means for crypto. We're going to get into all of that. So let's jump into it. Today, we have Bitcoin up 10% nearly. We have Ethereum up 20%, 10%. Solana up 12%. And this is all in the wake of the meeting that happened with Trump and key leaders in the crypto industry. Now, it was a pretty short briefing, but they did hold a private meeting on top of this public meeting. So that was just the fruiting body of the mushroom, if you will. That was just what the public got to see. But the mycelium, the real work of what's going on behind the scenes, who knows what they really talked about. But we know that Clarity Act keeps getting pushed down the road. We're going to be getting into that. And the crypto industry needs a backup plan. What's going to happen if the left continues to vote against the Clarity Act and trying to kill crypto? So this meeting was a step towards that, a step towards figuring out, I think, what the backup plan is. And SEC released yesterday as well, which we're going to get into. But let's talk a little bit more about this. Literally 589 days. I mean, I don't know what to tell you with this 589 number just keeps coming up over and over and over. Brad Garlinghouse still following exactly 589 people on his X page. This number doesn't go away. And if you're not familiar with 589, it is essentially the 1111 of the XRP world. That is the synchronistic number that comes up over and over and over again for almost a decade now for the XRP community. And this first started with one of the Ripple riddlers known as Bearable Guy back in 2018. And it's been going ever since. I mean, nearly a whole decade now. And this number just keeps showing up clearly. Brad Garlinghouse is playing into it. There's something he knows. David Schwartz constantly tweeting 589 posts. You know, there's no coincidence. No coincidence that it's exactly 589 days between when Brad last met Trump at Mar-a-Lago and meeting with him now with these other crypto leaders today at the White House. We also have, let's see, where we have an interesting matchup here where Not Advice has posted, and I highly recommend following this page. They are the best Ripple Riddler decoding page to follow in terms of taking apart all these riddlers, which if you're not into that world, that is a very interesting rabbit hole to go down and learn about, because there is a lot of things that add to be far beyond coincidence going on with these Ripple riddlers. But one of the things that comes up over and over is Teddy Roosevelt and how Teddy Roosevelt plays a big theme in the Bearable Guy riddles in particular. There's all these connections with Teddy Roosevelt that this page, Not Advice, lays out very, very well. Highly recommend checking them out. And you can see right in the back of them today, they're right next to Brad, is Mr. Teddy Roosevelt sitting there in the background with Brad's face peeking out. And it's funny too, because most of the time, Brad's face was covered for most of the entire clip. You could see here, he was just out of frame. A lot of the other time, he was just behind this guy on the right here, just out of frame. So it's weird. They you know, intentional or just something that happened. He was kept kind of in the background, in the shadows, a little less of a public figure. He also did not come up to speak on the microphone like the Winklevoss twins and many others did. So he kept a little more covert, a little more behind the scenes. But yeah, this meeting, I have a here that's going mid viral of him, the one clip of him actually referencing Brad. I'm not going to play because I don't have audio enabled on my setup here, but it's a clip of him saying basically, you know, we got Brad Garlinghouse from Ripple. He gives him a pat, acknowledges him. He doesn't give him a pat. He just turns around and looks at him and acknowledges him. But he my name, and let's move on here. So Trump pushes Congress to move on Clarity Act during White House crypto event. Congress needs to take the next step by approving the crypto market structure legislation during a Wednesday White House event with tech CEOs with heavy crypto names. The president, flanked by crypto business leaders from Coinbase, Gemini, Ripple, Chainlink, and others, called for a fair version of the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act at the gathering, hinting at the continued debate over the language of that very bipartisan bill that's been stuck in the U.S. Senate. So this thing is just, I think essentially what they're trying to do is create backup plans for if Clarity is not fully passed. We have Senator Cynthia Lummis here confirming September 15th at 2 p.m. is the date for when they're hopefully going to be voting the act. This is the actual bill on congress.gov that you can go check out in real time, the tracker of. And then the other thing that Trump mentioned today that's getting a lot of attention is he dropped a project called Hyperliquid, which is a project that I've been tracking a little bit. I don't own any of this yet. It's definitely getting my eyes on it more. Hyperliquid is essentially a perpetual futures, decentralized perpetual futures trading interface that is currently not available in the US, and they are working on making it fully compliant for US users. Now, that is currently sitting for Liquid at number 9 on the top cryptos of all time, 23%. It's up most today in the top 10, probably the top 20 as well, looks like it. So that's one to keep an eye on. I might talking about more, especially with this name drop at end day. Moving on, Trump also said that the U.S. is considering buying sizable amounts of Bitcoin and other currencies. What a great face. This is particularly important for XRP because, or I should say, it's particularly, I guess, important, but it's critical for XRP's sudden price reevaluation because we only have a certain amount of public XRP actually flowing available on the exchanges. Last I heard, it's somewhere between 3 and 5% of the total supply that's actually available for purchase on the exchanges. That's not being held by Ripple, not being held by institutional custody, which plans on utilizing it, which Ripple is providing and selling XRP to. So what that means is if some very large buyers post Clarity, whether that's Clarity Act or it goes through other forms of regulation, that's what these institutions and government, groups are really waiting for full clarity, is whether it's Clarity Act or otherwise some form of legal clarity that can show them how to act in the market. And when that happens, I think we're going to see massive amounts of money flow in from institutions into these utility coins, these ISO 20022 coins in particular. And what happens if there's only right now a few $1 billion worth of XRP sitting available for purchase, and then the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, the Fidelities, whoever it is, comes in and want to buy $1 billion, $2 billion, $5 billion. All of a sudden, that circulating supply is gone. And that's the concept of the XRP liquidity shock and the Sam Ellis theory that once this public liquidity is gone, supply and demand will really kick in dynamics. And with supply being essentially non-existent, demand is going to rise to a crazy amount. And that's where we could get overnight spikes XRP to these crazy prices that you've heard people talking about, into the hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. I'm not guaranteeing that's going to happen overnight, but this is the type of scenario that I want to see, where especially even the government is like, look, we're considering buying sizable amounts, let alone the institutions and the big financial companies. And that would be absolutely massive for XRP and other crypto, but particularly XRP with its liquidity shock and its utility for cross-border payments, which is the largest demand in terms of solving problems that have to do with large money. Cross-border payments is the absolute peak. It's the biggest amount of money. And so we're talking about XRP potentially settling billions, if not trillions of dollars constantly. And it's going to need a very high market cap in order to facilitate that. And so XRP sitting at $1 is not able to do its mission like it would be able to do if XRP was worth $1 million. And David Schwartz has a straight up quote of that. I wish I had prepared it, but I just thought of it. But he has a quote where he says something along the lines of, it can't be dirt cheap. It can't be worth $1. If banks wanted to move $1 million and XRP was $1, they'd have to move 1 million coins. Whereas if banks were moving XRP and XRP was worth $1 million, only have to move one coin to move that $1 million. So two things stick out to me about this. One, it's the only time I've ever seen David Schwartz, the creator of XRP, actually put out some kind of practical price point for the ledger. Outside of that, he's really stayed away from mentioning any kind of price, but he put out $1 million as an example. So that's something I've always listened to. The other thing is that well, now I'm brain farting and I don't remember the other thing, but we're gonna come back to it. But David Schwartz, he put that out there, and to me, that rings a bell to pay attention to, that in order for it to function at those high levels, we're going to see some crazy, crazy high prices. And he literally pointed out why it can't be worth $1. So I'm very excited to see what happens post clarity with XRP in particular. Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev was also at the event. He had some long hair and he kept combing his hair behind his ear. It was pretty funny. He said, we're at the beginning of a tokenization super cycle that will, quote, eat the entire financial system. Okay, so these guys all know what's coming. They know what's about to happen. With crypto stuff, it was such a pivotal point for the election, and so many people started to support Trump that were otherwise kind of, bipartisan or in the middle, didn't really care about politics, and you saw them support Trump because of crypto directly. So now, fintech, financial technology, and kind of Silicon Valley is seeing more and more that Trump is going to be the one that's really going to be helping them out versus the radical left, who is really seeking to implode things at this moment. Here's Paul Atkins with his announcement that he gave. Let's see, this was yesterday. He said, with our new proposal, the SEC is the SEC is taking the most historic step yet to modernize federal securities regulations for crypto assets. As the crypto capital of the world, the U.S. must and will lead. Crypto assets will ensure regulated crypto assets will ensure that we do. So basically, the summary of what he talked about, I pulled it up here on Grok. It's essentially a way for them to begin working with crypto companies that are starting up and needing funding that don't have full clarity from the Clarity Act yet. So kind of starting to pave that path and giving a little bit of clarity where we're waiting for that act to go through. And so essentially this in particular had to do with crypto projects raising funds. He split them up into two categories, one that's smaller, one up to $5 million, and larger ones up to $75 million per year. It added a safe harbor so that once a project finishes its main development work, the token is no longer treated as a security under SEC rules, which right now the only one that has legal clarity from a judge as not being a security is XRP. There is other cryptos like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and others that have current regulation as being not securities, but they did not come from a judge. And so there's a different regulatory standard, to my understanding, from when a judge gives an order. And XRP is still the only one that's been given an order from a judge as being a non-security, which I think takes a lot more to overturn than regulations set forward by the various government agencies. And so, yeah, it's pretty much a backup to the Clarity. Grok says, temporary agency level fix while Congress works on the bigger Clarity Act, the full market structure law. Atkins says real lasting rules still need Congress to pass legislation. The SEC move fills the gap for now. So it's good to have an SEC on our side now versus one that's actively fighting us and trying to destroy our lives. That's a real nice turn of events. We also had news from Ripple that, and I'm going to probably butcher the pronunciation, Jeonbuk Bank in the first regional, it's the first regional bank in Korea to deploy Ripple payments, this is really big, replacing multi-day SWIFT transfers with near real-time 24/7 cross-border payment settlements for its business customers. Our third Korean partnership this year after Kyobo Life Insurance and K-Bank, partnering on custody, wallet infrastructure, and payments. Korea's leading financial institutions are building with Ripple. And, as some of you may know, Korea is actually the biggest country per capita supporting XRP. So per the population there, which is obviously smaller than the US, person by person, they are using XRP on a much larger scale than the United States. So them and Japan is trailing behind them. Korea still has the lead, but those are the two biggest countries per capita utilizing XRP. And we've seen Ripple set up Japanese branches. We also saw Stronghold, SHX, one of my other favorite ISO 222 coins, also set up both Japanese and Korean branches for their business, even going as far as to make public X pages for Stronghold Ripple, for Stronghold Korea and Stronghold Japan. So keep an eye on these countries. It's also why I'm a big fan of the DCENT wallet, which is the go-to cold storage wallet that we use and that I know how to use in Crypto Academy, my conscious crypto coaching program. So this wallet, I've gone through a number of them. I've used Ledger, Trezor, a handful of hot wallets. Cold storage is always going to be the way to go, at least at this point in time. And this one is one that is actually pro XRP. Basically, their whole ecosystem is built around supporting all of the XRP related projects that don't normally make it in full support on your other wallets like Ledger or Trezor. So, like Stronghold, for example, to my knowledge, I don't think you can hold that on the Ledger right now, whereas you can hold it on the DCENT, and you can hold all of the cryptos that I talk about and teach about in my Conscious Crypto Academy. They can all be held on the DCENT wallet. So if you want to pick up one of these, I do have an affiliate discount link with them that gets you 30 bucks off, and it gives me like a $10, $15 kickback. So if you want to both the wallet that I truly find to be the best and also support me, use that link down below. It gives you that $30 discount and give me a kickback as well. So the other thing I like about this wallet real quick is that it's got a fingerprint scanner that doesn't send that data out elsewhere because it's all stored on the device. So that means if someone takes your wallet, it's not just a 4 to 8 digit PIN like you would get on a Ledger or a Trezor. You're actually going to need your fingerprint. So much further security. And in my course, we teach people how to set up these wallets, step-by-step tutorials, video showing you how to set it up, how to transfer your funds from whatever exchange you have them on. Usually it's Coinbase or Kraken or Uphold or Crypto.com. We show you how to pull it off, put it on the wallet, make sure the wallet is set up. We'll show you how to quantumly secure the DCENT wallet too, because quantum computing hacks are becoming a larger and larger threat. And we can actually quantumly secure ourselves from quantum hackers on the wallet. So we teach you how to do that too. And we'll show you also how to use DeFi, which is decentralized, to set up passive income streams so that you can put some of your crypto to work and generate interest for you even when the market is going down. So check that link out below if you want to get one of those wallets. Coming back to our stories here. We talked about the SEC, Ripple. We have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent saying the U.S. Treasury is moving quickly to implement the Crypto Stablecoin Genius Act framework. If you remember, the Genius Act is the one that was passed last year, late 2025, mainly having to do with stablecoin regulation. And I find a lot of people still are not familiar with what a stablecoin is. So I'll take a moment to explain that. A stablecoin is a cryptocurrency that is pegged and will forever always be worth exactly 1-to-1 with either the US dollar or some other stable currency, national currency for the most part. So you have stable coins for pretty much every country's currency out there. US dollar is obviously the biggest, and there's a handful of US dollar stable coins. A big bonus of this is it gives you the opportunity to keep your money in USD, but keep it on a cold storage wallet like the DCENT. And if you remember the Canadian trucker rally, you know, this was put to the test where those Canadian truckers, they had all their bank accounts, all their public crypto exchanges, all of their PayPals, everything got shut down when they were trying to do that protest. And private wallets were the only way they were able to transact remotely across the country to fund their protest. So going back to what David Schwartz said, freedom of finance is essentially the core freedom through which all other freedoms revolve around. If you can't transact freely, you can't travel, you can't bear arms, you can't fill up gas to go anywhere. Like, it takes away all your other freedoms. So the Canadian trucker rally was excellent proof of that. And stable coins allow you to keep US dollar where it's not going to be in a volatile investment, but you get to keep it on your wallet. So you get the full benefits of the wallet. It can't be shut down like your bank account. You have more power, more responsibility, but it gives you so much more safety and security versus keeping something in a bank. Um, and so it gives you that option. Not saying you should go keep all of your bank account money in a stable, but for certain people, they're going to want to choose to keep at least a fraction in there. And it will also allow you to set up easier purchases and limit orders and things into crypto. So there's a lot of benefits to stable coins. And the Genius Act was a regulatory act built around how stable coins would be regulated. So we're starting to get that to become more active. And even though it was passed last year, it doesn't fully take effect until I think this year or next year. We also had an interesting story today. Moderna, which I had no idea is the ticker mRNA, disgusting, uh, surges 130% after cancer vaccine shows signs of preventing melanoma from spreading. Well, wow, that sounds great on the surface, but boy, I have a lot of questions. Um, for one, I mean, 130% for the stock market is crazy. That's some crypto level volatility going, over double its value. Um, After that coming out, but I don't know if this was within a day, but it looks like it was rather quickly on a single candle. So I, I'm not even going to get too deep into that because I think many of you know my thoughts, but there's some suspicious things going on here, not just on the market side, but also in the whole, prevention and needing a vaccine for cancer and all these type of things. But I thought that was relevant for the snapshot of what's going on at this point in time. We already talked about that. Scott Besson Act. So let's round it out talking about X money. Now, remember when Elon Musk first made X.com, that was actually back in like it was the late 90s or early 2000s. I forget if it was like 99 or '01, but it was around Y2K. And basically, from the beginning, birthing it out of PayPal, it was around all that same time as the PayPal mafia, Peter Thiel, all those guys got together and made PayPal. X Money and X.com, that domain was reserved and left blank for the last 20 years. And X was always supposed to be, in his mind, the super app, and particularly one that could rival the financial system. So now, for the first time, just recently, we have the beta of X Money actually live, and you should go check your X account. Come over to the left-hand side here, see if you have money, and if you do, click it. Super simple. I wanted to share my experience. It was so easy. I just put in my name and my social, and immediately I was given a card. They even gave me a free $25 credit and a virtual debit card that I could load into my Apple Pay immediately. And you can also order that physical card in the mail that you can use anywhere you use. I believe it's a Visa, might be MasterCard, but I think it's a Visa. This is huge because I think this is going to be in alignment with crypto. Obviously, crypto is also competing and trying to take the power away from the central bankers. And that's been X Money goal for the last 20 years. And as we know, I've talked about many times on this channel, I think Elon is intimately involved with what's going on with XRP behind the scenes. Peter Thiel, who is former fellow PayPal mafia member with Elon, was an angel investor for Ripple, or for OpenCoin, which is what became Ripple. And so it's all, it all goes back to this history from like 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, which I mean, we're in 2026 now, so nearly 30 years. And now it's actually beginning to come to fruition. So for one, I would say this is worth checking out if you have access to it. If you don't have access to that money tab, you should see it pop up probably in the next few months as the beta goes into a full public rollout. And I think that X is probably going to be into their business model. They've already said they have no plans of creating their own cryptocurrency, but they're probably going to be implementing crypto on the back end. I would imagine both for payment settlements, because what would be the best way to settle massive amounts of money, especially as they scale up with their users, is going to be XRP and ISO 20022 cryptos, and then on the front end, I think it's also going to be a interaction to be able to purchase crypto, where you won't even need a bank account at that point. You'll just be able to have your X account. It's like a bank. It's got $10,000 a day daily withdrawals. Obviously, there's still some things with the bank where you could do wire transfers and stuff. Maybe that'll be coming to this. But for the most part, between X money and crypto, we've pretty much alleviated most needs for a traditional bank account. And I think in the next couple years, the banks are really going to have to step up with new services. And this is something I've been telling my academy members for a while. The banks are going to have to step up and provide new, genuine services to their customers, because all their customers are just going to go to crypto and things like X money that are the next wave that they can get way higher interest and investments in. Obviously, investments in crypto is timeless. I think that is going to be the biggest opportunity of the human race to flip small amount of money into a large amount of money and absolutely change your whole family line and generational wealth. Um, but I think also that provide people the necessary means to do some of those things that maybe you don't want to do with, keep it in X money. And so the banks are truly going to have to come up with new services to compete. And I think they're going to have to go back to being actual reserves, actually having one-to-one reserves of precious metals and of all the money they claim they have, instead of fractional reserve banking, which is where they only have to hold a fraction of what they actually say they have, which is why if everyone tried to pull their money out, there'd be a run on the bank and nobody would be able to get their money. But also the interest rates for X money are insane for your US dollar. I think it's either 6% or 8%. I think it's 8, which is crazy high. That's even higher than you can get on most stable coins, crypto, which is pretty higher than what you can get in the bank. So man, this is just furthermore alleviating the need for the central banking cartels. Highly recommend checking it out if that's what you're into. And if you're into crypto, you need to further your journey and you need some help, I'm here to help you out. That's what Conscious Crypto is all about. We help people who are newer in crypto, brand new, or maybe you've got some crypto, you've got it on an exchange. Maybe you set up a hot wallet, but you're kind of stuck. Most people coming in are in that position where they either have nothing so far and they're looking to get some crypto and they don't really know what they do. They're hesitant to move it. They're afraid to lose it if they move it. And that's where we really shine, where we can help you out. So we have step-by-step tutorials where we walk you through every step of how to actually buy, sell. We teach about the different styles of trading, whether you want to do more of a day trading or a long-term investment like I do. We talk about how to set up those, become your own bank with the wallet, get all your funds on there safely, quantum resist it, like talking about, and then learning about the different cryptos that are in the realm of XRP, because XRP is a great start, but there's a lot of other cryptos that are in that umbrella and that family that we can benefit from that might even outperform XRP. And then finally, we teach you how to generate passive income via DeFi, which is decentralized finance. That's going to be staking, which is interest generation, liquidity pools, lending and borrowing. There's a lot of new things that are coming out. And then I think post Clarity Act, or whatever kind of clarity we get, we're going to go a whole new wave of DeFi and passive income tools, because a lot of these things are sitting there waiting to be launched by these crypto companies, and they're just waiting for the regulatory clarity to really kick it off. One example is Evernorth, which is the ticker XRPN. It's going to be going live on the stock market, and they're going to be the world's largest public XRP treasury on the stock market. That's going to provide all sorts of DeFi and also probably centralized tools in order to generate passive income with our XRP and others. So lots of fun things. We meet together every Sunday. We have a multi-hour call where we go over Q&A. We talk about news like this. We go way more in detail than I can on these videos. It's interactive. You can ask questions. We look at charts, and then we look at everything else going on in the world. We talk about all the crazy stuff going on, whether it's the disclosure files or the e-files, or sometimes we're talking about parasite cleansing. We've done remote viewing as a group together. So we go into all these other cool aspects of the awakening, which is why it's just crypto. We keep a conscious and spiritual lens throughout the entire experience. We're not just your average 3D crypto group. And anybody else that is running a community like this right now. So we are one of one, and I think you're really going to enjoy it. If you're looking for help in getting further in crypto and you also want a community of like-minded awakening souls that you can talk about what, not just crypto, no limits, this is the group for you. So if you're interested, you can book a free 30-minute strategy call with me. The link for that will be down below. And I typically do recommend people have at least $5,000 or more if you're going to join the full academy to make the investment in it and to make all the opportunities worth it. I typically recommend around $5,000 or more. Some people come in with tens, some people come in with hundreds of thousands, all wherever you're at. But if you have less than 5,000, reach out to me as well. Send me an email. That'll be down below. Let me know. And I do have some options if you're dealing with a smaller amount for your investments. If you have just a couple $100 or even 100, I have some educational and help options available if you're in that position. So hit me up, either book a call if you want to join the full academy or send me an email. And that DCENT wallet down below as well at $30 off. And if you want us to teach you how to use it, join Conscious Crypto and we'll give you the rundown. So thank you guys again for hanging. It's been a pleasure. And leave a comment below on what kind of videos you would like me to make. If you want more updates like this, or you want me to include some more videos like I've done in the past in there as well, let me know. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.